Hi, and welcome to the Cunning Buffoons podcast.
I'm Andrew.
I
I'm
forgot to say my
Malachi.
name. I'm Tess.
And this week we're going to just enjoy a bonus episode and let my daughter nerd out on serial killers. Because
Yeah.
when Dylan was like, let's do a serial killer episode, Tess was like, look at
I was the
me.
first
I
person to
have
pop in your
super
mind.
ADHD powers. And we were like, heck
Let's
yeah,
go.
use them,
I
girl.
have copy and pasting off the internet powers.
Yeah, but see, it's that laser focus. Murder? Let's
Yeah.
study.
Well, I would just like to start by saying I don't like romanticize murderers just like straight off the bat because there are some
You're
weird.
fascinated by the psychology. You're not
Yeah.
like, ooh, I want to get with him.
So like a lot of these, like I focus in on like childhood, even though it's like not straight into the murder because I feel like that has a big part to play, and I'm definitely a nature, not or a nurture person more than I am a nature person. Like
They both have their roles.
they both do, and I think they both play a really big part, but I think nurture plays more of a part than nature.
I think it does in the end result, but like I think they've proven, according to the studies I've read, but they like everybody changes everything. They figured out that like genetic like behaviors, certain behaviors and attitudes and actions like are genetically passed down, like violence and
Yeah.
So like it's I think you're
But
like
I think
the nature makes a starting point. The nurture figures out like I can take a hammer and I could build a house or I could beat somebody to death with it.
yeah.
The nurture decides the nature where the nature goes.
Yeah, something like that. But also I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about random stuff.
No,
So
you're good.
I'm
That
gonna
makes sense.
I'm gonna lecture y'all basically for like 40 hours about we're gonna learn about Ted Bundy, a big serial killer. If you don't know who he is, look
Don't
him
know who
up.
he is.
And then we're gonna learn about Charles Manson, who was not technically a murderer, but
Isn't he like one of the only people to ever be held for life without actually being convicted of a crime?
well, he was convicted because he was a cult leader, like, and he definitely committed crimes by like inciting the murders. And he was actually imprisoned. We'll get into it, but he was like in prison, in and out of prison, like for most of his life, even before he started the cult.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with Bundy. And Bundy's kind of a weird case because like when you're researching Bundy, it's really hard to figure out what's true and like what's fake because Bundy was like a really bad liar. And he was like, so my life was perfect and all you guys just suck.
You mean he was
So-
a really good liar?
No, like he was a good liar. Like he convinced a lot of women that he was, and people that he was like not a murderer and he was like totally a chill dude. But like he would just random things about his life that like people knew were wrong. He would be like, "Well, I came from money." And people would be like, "No, you didn't, bro. You were literally not." And so like
Okay, so like when people are like, "You two look alike," and you're like, "Yeah, we're twins."
yeah, kind of. But also like he would do it because he was kind of embarrassed, but I'll get into that. So he was born like Theodore Robert Cowell, okay? He was born on November 24th in 1946. His mom was named Eleanor Louise Cowell, and she was 22 when she had him. And
Late bloomer.
yes. But okay, it was weird because she had him in a home for unwed mothers, which I think it's crazy that that is a thing that exists. But I mean,
Well,
like,
why shouldn't it exist?
yeah, I guess, but
Like instead of abortion, like that should be a better option.
Yeah,
like a home to help support these people.
yeah, because her deeply
Mhm.
religious parents were very ashamed of her for getting pregnant outside of wedlock. And then later, her and Ted would go live with her parents in Philadelphia. Nobody knows who Ted's father is. It's like nobody really knows. Some think it's a guy named Lloyd Marshall. Others think it's a guy named Jack Worthington.
Not exactly
and
the kid you show up out of the blue to claim.
yeah. And a
Mom.
lot of people believe
got
that
a
Ted's
song.
father is his grandfather. So we'll get more into that theory in a minute. So originally Louise, she went by Louise. Her name was Eleanor Louise, but she went by Louise. She wanted to give Ted up for adoption because she was like, I'm 22. The father's gone. I don't want to mess with this. But then her father, Sam, who had originally been like, go take the kid, get out of my house, I'm ashamed of you, was like, actually, I want Ted.
Well, he
So,
just realized like I'm going to give up my grandson. Like,
well, no, he was a weird guy, but we'll get into that. And so he was raised thinking that Louise was his sister. Though he would like later claim, he would be like, I always knew she was my mom, guys. Like I'm that smart. Like I always knew that. He said that it was because there was such a big age gap and Louise took care of him like a mom would. But I don't. There's a lot of stories about how Ted figured out that he was illegitimate. Um, One of the main ones is like he found his birth certificate and he saw that the father was named unknown, so that Louise was in fact his mother. But it's never been like stated this is how he found out that he was illegitimate. Some people say like a cousin called him out like in a fight and they were like, you're illegitimate, and he was like, no, I'm not. And they were like, no, you are.
I don't
and
know
took
families
his
where that happens.
took his birth certificate out and was like, no, dude, you actually are.
That's just rude, though.
Yeah. So Louise's mom suffered from depression and agoraphobia.
Which
and
is
her
the fear of leaving the
father-
house.
Yes, and her father was described as someone with a raging temper who took it out on animals, employees, and family members, which is why some people think that he is Ted's father, because some people think that he raped Louise. Though she is quoted saying she was seduced and abandoned by a war veteran. Many believe that his grandfather like abused him mentally and physically as a child. But Ted is later quoted saying that him and his grandfather had a good relationship. But again, he was the type of dude who would have lied about that either way, because he would have like, instead of being like, oh, my grandfather abused me, he's a bad person for that, he would have been like, I'm a bad person, like that makes me look trashy. And Ted was a raging narcissist. So,
Yay, narcissism.
when he was
CEO or serial killer, one or the other.
Yeah.
Go.
when he was 3, Louise moved them to Tacoma, Washington, and Ted did not like this at all. He didn't like Philly, and he just he missed Philly, which is where he lived before, and he said he like didn't like the Seattle area.
It's a crap hole. It's a rainy, nasty, gloomy. Like
Yeah,
it's got a
so
high rate of
he was-
depression because you don't see the sun.
He was not happy about that after him and Louise moved. And he became even more upset when his mother met a man named Johnny Bundy, and they would get married despite Ted despising his stepfather. Johnny still adopts him, and Ted takes his last name, which is how he becomes Ted Bundy and no longer Ted Coe.
It's a good way to like shift the
he-
family. Like they're like the Bundys are messed up. Nobody realizes it was really the Coels.
Yeah. So like he still really hated his stepdad. He would cite the most like prevalent reasons that he hated him was that his stepfather was working class and unintelligent, saying he couldn't give him the things he wanted. As a teenager, his friends, like Bundy's friends, said that he would like provoke his stepfather, who would often hit him out of frustration, which doesn't make it okay. But I struggle with that because I'm like, I'd hit that kid too.
Well,
So
the problem is, spanking a child is necessary, but most people wait too late.
yeah.
They lose their temper and they start beating their kids when they're in their teenage years, and at that point it's too late. Like spanking and discipline consistently, not out of rage, not out of anger, but like a consistent disciplinary technique it has to be consistent. It has to start young, or else you wind up with kids who are like, I'm gonna provoke them for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bundy also didn't really like his mother because he was illegitimate, and he thought that was humiliating and made him like less of anything. So he really didn't like.
So this dude was just like a pretentious prick.
Yeah, he really was. He really was. Ted like never fit in with his peers, like from childhood into like his teenage years. He was teased by other classmates for having a speech impediment. It was said that he couldn't really like keep up with them socially. And he wasn't unathletic, but he never made like any sports teams, and he didn't date either. And he would go on to say that it wasn't because, hold on, let me quote it in his way. it wasn't that I disliked women or were afraid of them. It was just I didn't seem to have an inkling as to what to do about them, which is very telling for what he goes on to do. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it's like
No, it is kind of funny when you
it's
look
like,
back.
oh, yeah, maybe I really
Hindsight's
didn't know what to do about them.
hindsight's 2020. Like somebody becomes a serial killer, and then all of a sudden they
Yeah.
examine their lives, and they're like, there was a million clues, but like
There
you don't.
really were
Yeah,
though.
but you don't really connect them all, and you don't think nobody goes. I'm probably one of the only parents that looks at my child and goes, "That one has a potential to be a serial killer. We have to worry about her." And like most parents are gonna be like, "No, my child's perfect." I'm like, "No, my child could kill a bunch of people if she wanted to." You know?
Yeah, as like a kid, he like I'm gonna get into it in like just a second. Thank you for pointing at me, Dylan. I saw that. um,
Hey, Louise
He-
says you're welcome.
oh, I love that so much. That was probably really loud. Sorry for anybody who's
Kiri
listening.
did that just for you.
I love that. That's so cute. Anyways, um, I'm gonna get into this in a minute, but like he was like at 3 years old, he had a fascination with knives, and like his aunt said one time she woke up in the middle of the night and Ted was just like placing knives around her, and she like woke up and kind of looked at him, and then he just kind of went on about his business, and like she remembers telling people and being like, why was Ted doing that? And everybody just being like, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
boys are
fine.
boys. It's all right. He was
Boys
just
will
playing
be
surgeon.
boys. He also like liked macrame at a really young age, which was kind of weird. And again,
Macrame?
no macrame.
What's
It's like
that?
depictions. You know what it is.
It's like depictions
Of
of gore,
like
violence,
violently
blood.
killing people
Yeah.
and stuff. So
It's
like
the type of stuff I grew up seeing, and then when I found horror, I was like, "Holy crap! This is where it's at."
I'll mention in a minute
Like
that
the Terrifier is like macrame in
that
video
he
format.
had a pornography addiction, but I feel like saying it as macabre kind of makes it a little more like click in your mind, just the kind of stuff. Like he
There's
wasn't just watching people have sex; he was watching like people murder people. So
Yeah, there's a difference between pornography, which is not good for you anyway,
yeah,
and then pornography that depicts sadistic acts of torture and terror.
yeah. So he was also like fairly good in school, fairly intelligent, but he never like made top of his class. He had really violent tendencies as a kid. Um, a lot of people say that like they would brush his like behavior off as like just being socially awkward, but his behavior went beyond social awkwardness like a lot. A fellow Boy Scout who knew him as a child remembered Bundy once coming up from behind him and like hitting him with a stick. On Conversations with a Killer, it just says Holt, so I don't know who Holt is referring to, but I'm guessing it was someone who was on Conversations with a Killer with him, said that Bundy liked to scare people. She recounted his fondness for digging holes in the ground, putting stakes inside them, then covering them up with vegetation. At least one girl fell and hurt her leg in one of these, what he would call tiger traps. He was violent to animals as well. Matt DeLacy is how I want to say it. An Iowa State University criminologist who published a book about Bundy, said that he used to pull apart mice in like nearby woods to his house. And Bundy's former attorney, John Henry Brown, or maybe I don't know how you say his last name, seemingly corroborates this anecdote in.
Do you know bloody nose?
No, I'm just messing with my. I was trying to make
hey,
sure that my nose piercing was
Don't
right.
accidentally cut the phantom power on because these will shield around the microphone, and if she gets that thing too close, it'll throw a spark an inch, and it'll be hilarious. But don't do it.
Okay. He supposedly corroborates this anecdote in a 2016 interview with Fox 13 in Seattle. He says Bundy would buy mice at a local pet store and play God, rounding them up in a corral and deciding which ones to kill and which ones to spare.
At least he paid for the mice. He wasn't stealing them.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't taking
He
wild
wasn't
mice.
finding filled mice.
These mice were going to go to a child that was going to starve them to death, or they went to Bundy. So their life sucked either way.
Or they went to a snake.
I mean, the same thing.
True, but
like,
they would be dead by then. This desire to exert control on other living beings would have influenced his criminal acts, obviously. Bundy enjoyed. I lost my place. Hold on. Like pulpy detective fiction stories with gore-filled depictions of rape and murder. he might have started looking at pornography long before he was a teenager, because it's possible he accessed his grandfather's collection, which means that his grandfather was also looking at macabre, because he was 3 when he moved away from his grandfather. So very, very young, very weird, strange behavior.
So messed up people mess people up.
Yeah, I don't like Ted's grandfather. I think that the theory that he is Ted's father, it kind of checks out. Like, I agree with that, other than the fact that Louise said that it wasn't him, kind of, whenever she said that she was seduced and abandoned. But it's like,
Louise
Maybe she's
probably
a
was just
liar.
as big as a liar as he was.
yeah, she was probably covering up. And I have 23 minutes. Okay. Anyways.
Yes, she forgot the charger for her. You'll have to pull it all up on your iPad. We could like pause too if you need to.
It's okay. I can keep doing this until it dies. Where was I? And then, while living in Philadelphia, Bundy would sometimes masturbate inside closets in his junior high school, getting doused with water when his classmates caught him, which is crazy that it happened more than once.
Like we had a kid,
Right?
We had a kid in like, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, but I think he was in 3rd or 4th. But like they called him jacking off in one of the classrooms.
But it's like, you do that once you get caught, you never do it again. Like, you're
I don't know if they ever called him
you're
again, but his excuse was there are girls in this school that like me, and it's like, no, bro,
No,
it's not
no,
okay.
there are not. They do
Not anymore.
So, a young Bundy also began breaking the law. He was a good skier who shoplifted ski equipment that he couldn't afford, among other items. He would also forge tickets in
This
order
dude
to
was
hit
just
the
born
slopes.
in chaos mode.
Yeah, as a teen, he attempted car theft and received a warning as a punishment. And most disturbingly, Bundy became a peeping Tom who spied on strangers. Such voyeurism
Voyeurism.
voyeurism, I know how to speak, is a common precursor to sexual violence.
Yeah, so is ripping animals apart for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not
Both.
for food, not like I'm butchering a deer, but like I'm going to leave it alive and
So,
torture it. No.
Yeah. Here's where we kind of get into the sad, more murdery aspects of the story.
It all has been
So
sad.
far, it's been
Okay.
sad.
Yeah, but this is where it gets really sad, and Mommy, you might want to close your ears, okay? So, many people believe that Bundy's first victim was an 8-year-old girl named Anne Marie Burr, who was abducted in the middle of the night from her home on August 13th in 1961, when Bundy was like just 14. She lived really close to him. Her father was cited saying that he thought someone who knew her would have had to be the one who did it, because all parents were inside the house sleeping. Like, there wasn't a struggle. It seemed like she was just kind of lured away, and it would have been easier if she knew someone.
Well,
But
yeah, duh.
yeah, but Bundy has gone on record and said that he did not do it. Like, Anne Marie's mom sent a letter to him while he was in jail and was like, "Hey, if you
Yeah,
did
you're
this,
already caught. Did you do
yeah,
it?
can you please like confess so that I can have peace of mind?" And he allegedly told her, "No, I didn't do it." So it's like,
It's probably the only time he was like, "Damn, I wish I would have committed that murder."
well, like,
Because like he could have gave her peace. Like even a
Yeah.
heartless killer would think, I'm already caught. Because like he did repent of a lot of stuff at the end, didn't he?
yes, we'll get into that and why I kind of believe that's half-butted. But he would graduate from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology in 1972, which would really help him in his murdering. And he was accepted to attend law school in Utah, though he never earned his degree because he got caught and sent to jail.
He got caught hacking up college
Um,
boys. Yeah.
While at the University of Washington, Bundy fell in love with a wealthy, pretty young woman from California named Diane Edwards. She had everything that he wanted: money, class, influence, and he was devastated by their breakup. The reason that is important is because a lot of Bundy's later victims looked like her. They were like young, attractive students with long, dark hair. In the mid 70s, Bundy had transformed himself. So, like, he went from being this socially awkward teen, young child who just nobody really liked, to
So he
became,
didn't understand society, so he went and studied society, and then
yes. So
mastered
his psychology degree, I think, really helped him because he became more outwardly confident. and active in social and political
It
matters.
put him in control.
Yeah, that's really what it was. He even got a letter of recommendation from the Republican governor of Washington after working on his campaign, which is a little.
Hey, sometimes charismatic people have to be charismatic because they want to be able to lure their victims, and you got to practice.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna do like a whole kind of breakdown of his first crime to when he got caught. But before I do that, I want to talk about his most notable girlfriend, Elizabeth. I don't know how to say her last name. If you know, you know. Who was Ted Bundy's girlfriend. Because it doesn't really bring her up in the thing, but she was one of the reasons that he got caught. And like, you know, someone who survived being in a relationship with Ted Bundy. There's a movie on Netflix, I think it's called Shockingly Cruel, Wicked, Vilely Evil, something like that.
It's a movie about bad things.
Yeah, it's a movie about Bundy,
It's called
and
Bad Job.
and it focuses a lot on his relationship
Something was
with
Zac Efron plays in?
yes, and Lily Collins, love her. So they were in a
Whoa.
6-year relationship in 1969 after meeting in a Seattle bar. She was a single mom of a young daughter and struggled with alcoholism, which Bundy kind of took advantage of. Bundy took care of her, is what she says, and she said that he was warm and loving. By 1974, Elizabeth started to suspect Bundy's crimes, and when she questioned him about his odd behaviors, like keeping a meat cleaver in his desk, he used his charms to deflect her concerns.
So she was a cover.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
I got a
movie
meat cleaver
title?
on my desk.
Is extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile.
I told you it was something like that.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth secretly went to the police with her suspicions of Bundy's involvement in prominent local murders, but they didn't believe that he was a killer because he was kind of a charming dude. The pair
don't know,
remained
like-
together.
Why do they think that?
Also, why did she go to the police but not break up with this man? Because they remained together, though they grew distant when Bundy moved to Olympia the following year. In 1975, Elizabeth went to the police again, this time with evidence that helped them to arrest the serial killer. Bundy had confessed
How
to Elizabeth over the phone. From
dumb
his,
do you feel when that happens?
yeah, for real. Over the phone from his prison cell that he had tried to kill her and couldn't resist his impulses when he felt his sickness building in him. She later wrote that in a book that she wrote about him. She broke ties with Bundy for good and later wrote a book about her experiences. I don't know why that's in there twice. So again, like I said, this is the timeline of the first like convicted murder that they have him on to getting prosecuted, tried, sentenced to death, and ultimately put to death. Woohoo! So I'm not gonna say the
I raised
year.
her right.
I'm not gonna say the year every time. Just when it switches to a new year, it's a new year. So this starts in 1974 in January. Bundy attacked a University of Washington student. Bundy then attending the University of Puget, Puget, Puget Sounds Law School.
Puget Sounds.
Mercilessly beats University of Washington student Karen Sparks at her Seattle home. Sparks is one of Bundy's few victims to survive, though she suffers permanent brain damage from the attack. Then on February 1st, Bundy commits his first proven murder. Linda Ann Healy, another UW undergrad, despite disappears from her off-campus home in the early morning hours, leaving behind a carefully made bed with blood on the pillow. Her remains were found a year later alongside those of other women outside Seattle on Taylor Mountain. So then it's a little bit of a cool-off period, and then on July 14th, Bundy claims 2 victims on the same day, 2 college students, Janice Ott, Oot, O-T-T, and I was about to say Denise
D-Nice.
Mesheed, I don't know, vanished from Seattle area Lake Shamamish is how I think you'd say that. State
That's
Park Within like 3-hour time frame, witnesses recall a young man named Ted, his arm in a sling, asking the women for help carrying his boat. His description matches that of an injured Ted seen at nearby schools, which several female students had gone missing. Many of these young women shared a notable physical characteristic: long hair parted down the middle. So that's the first time, not the first time, but like,
But
when it
like, didn't
becomes-
like 90% of the women in the population share that characteristic?
No, that was the man. That was Bundy. Like, it wasn't normal for men to, I guess it wasn't normal for men to have long hair parted down the middle. Or it was just like, it was normal, but they were like, hey, this is like, that was the thing that they all corroborated.
So this is the 60s.
Yeah.
And they're like,
No, this is the 70s.
They're still the 70s. They're like that fucking hippie over there. He did it.
Yeah. But this is kind of where we see his main MO for capturing his victims, which was pretending to be injured to make the women feel subdued. We love.
It worked.
We don't love. I'm just nervous. On August 30th, the law
Don't be nervous. Like,
on August 30th, he moves to Utah, leaving his job at the Emergency Service Department in Olympia, Washington. Bundy heads to Salt Lake City to resume his studies at the University of Utah Law School. On November 8th, Bundy strikes twice in one day. Again,
good Lord.
posing as a police officer in Murray County, Utah, Bundy lures 18-year-old Carol DeRanch from a mall to his tan Volkswagen Beetle, where he attempts to put handcuffs on her before she escapes. Later that day, 17-year-old Deborah Kent disappears after leaving a high school play to pick up her younger brother. Investigators find a key in the school parking lot that fits the handcuffs used on DeRanch. So they know, okay,
It's the same dude.
Yeah, it's the same dude. So then
We don't know what dude, but it's the same dude.
Yeah, that was on November 8th. So there's another like quick little cooling off period, and now we're in 1975. So on January 12th, the killer surfaces in Colorado. So a 23-year-old nurse named Karen. Okay, it's Car YN. So Karen maybe, but I've never seen Karen spelled like that. Campbell disappears from her hotel in Snowmass, Colorado after leaving the lobby to retrieve a magazine from her room. Her body is found a few weeks later on a snowbank outside the resort village. On August 16th, so like a big cooling off period, Bundy is briefly apprehended when a highway patrol sergeant, Bob Hayward, stops the tan Volkswagen Beetle that had been lingering outside a home in Granger, Utah. Hayward arrests the shaggy-haired driver after finding a ski mask, a crowbar, an ice pick, and handcuffs in the car, which, kind of shady things to have in your car. But charges of evading the police aren't enough to keep him detained for long, and Bundy is soon released. And my battery is running low.
What's a dip?
I told you we wouldn't have 45 minutes.
That's
Okay.
that's why you're nervous, is because your battery's
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me. We'll have a brief intermission. Please cut this out. Get some Jeopardy music. This is so much smaller. I hate this. Okay.
I was about to ask what was about to happen. I heard the freaking audio start cutting out. Jeez, bro.
So bad. Sorry.
Didn't scare me.
Camera, that'll
Did
be,
you
that'll
look
be
it
a short.
up? Yeah. Okay, then I won't. Okay. So.
All right, guys. Welcome back from our brief recession. Now that we've swapped stuff.
I don't think that's what
That
you
was not.
Okay, hang on. We want to try it again. Okay. Get your giggles out.
Welcome back from us smoking weed and doing ping pong, paddle whack.
Give a dog a bone.
Sure.
Even flow. I don't know, just random crap.
Okay.
Now, yeah, bring us back, Tess. Bring us back.
Okay, so on October 2nd, we're still in 1975. Bundy is selected from a police lineup. Although previous efforts to identify Bundy had failed, Duranch and 2 other women point him out in a police lineup, and he is arrested and charged with attempted kidnapping. On March 1st, Bundy is convicted for his abduction efforts following a 5-day trial during which he waived the right to be heard by a jury. Bundy is found guilty of aggravated kidnapping, drawing a 1 to 15-year prison sentence. So on October 21st, 1976. Sorry, we moved to 1976 on March 1st. Sorry.
Time travel.
Bundy is charged with first-degree murder when investigators link Bundy to the January 1975 murder of Campbell through the discovery of her hair in his car. The use of his gasoline credit card in the vicinity of the date, like in the vicinity of where she was
When credit cards come
disappeared
along,
from.
it just messed up not being able to be
Yeah.
traced, man.
And eyewitness accounts of
Remember
him
that, Dylan.
being at her hotel. He is extradited to Aspen, Colorado in early 1977 to stand trial. On June 7th, 1977, goodness, Bundy escapes from a library. So he was allowed to access the law library at Aspen Pitkin, Pitkin County Courthouse in an unshackled and unguarded Bundy who has murdered multiple women. And they were just like, nah, dude, go to the library, do some research on your case, and we're not even going to watch you, which I think is criminal.
It probably helped him, his psychology and his confidence and mastery of people. He probably had
he
a play.
fully like manipulated them, but still, like, you'd think you'd have enough common sense to not leave a convicted murderer.
That's like the captain of the ship that doesn't allow his crew to bind him to the post when they're going by the sirens. He's like, no, I'll be chill.
Yeah, no.
Bro, you died.
So Bundy leaps from a second-floor window, heads into the mountains. Following a 6-day manhunt, he is found driving a stolen car and returned to custody. So a couple months later, on December 30th,
Arkansas, that'd run his butt over.
Yeah, in 1977, a slimmed-down Bundy disappears from his prison cell. So he was moved to an allegedly more secure facility in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Bundy loses enough weight to be able to squeeze through an opening cut through his ceiling and into the duct system. He exits into an empty apartment of a prison worker, changes clothes, and escapes once again. This time leaving Colorado behind and eventually winding up in northern Florida, which will be very dumb of him because he goes on to commit many more crimes, which ultimately earn him a death sentence. If you are an escaped killer, why are you going to the most loose state on the death penalty? Like, it's a well-known fact.
It's because you're going to a state that has a massive tourism population that is year-round. You're going there because the victims are it's like when Deuce Twat, he had the big hotel, the murder hotel, H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes, like he did the World Fair. He had his big murder hotel there because the populace was so transient. Not because they were like transients, but because it's just constantly traveling through. You pick an area where the victims are easy and nobody knows they're missing.
I guess, but he doesn't do that.
He's also born in chaos mode. Like, he don't care.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this quick little thing that is like the quick synopsis, and then I'm gonna move over to a different article that tells like more like a more in detail version of what happened on this day, because this is probably the murder that he is known best for. So on January 15th, 1978, Bundy kills 2 students and injures 3 more at Florida State University, breaking into FSU's Chi Omega sorority house around 3 a.m. Bundy strangles the life out of Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy and beats Kathy Kiner and Karen Chandler with a club-like object before fleeing. He then enters the home of another home a few blocks away and brutally assaults another student, Cheryl Thomas. Kiner, Chandler, and Thomas survived their injuries, though none is able to describe the attacker. So I'm going to move to this that kind of gives a more detailed story of kind of what happens, because that was just like a brief synopsis, because it's important to how he gets convicted later. So the Chi Omega sorority house is located outside of Florida State University. I'm not gonna say the street name because I feel like that's not really important. So where is it? Where does it start? So on January 15th, only a few days after arriving in Tallahassee, Bundy entered the Chi Omega sorority house located on the street through a back door with a faulty lock. He beats Margaret Elizabeth Bowman with a piece of wood as she slept and choked her with a nylon stocking. Next, he entered the room of Lisa Janet Levy, beats her unconscious, bit her on the buttock, and sexually assaulted her with a hairspray bottle. He also attacked 2 other victims, Karen Chandler and Kathy Kiner, who survived.
So, like, at this point, he's on the run. He knows he's going to he just goes nuts. He just says, screw it, I'm done masking it, and just goes crazy.
Kind of. After fleeing the sorority house, he ran west to a Dunwoody Street in some sort of psychopathic frenzy, where he broke into the apartment of Cheryl Thomas, another FSU student, and beat her. She survived, though she was left with permanent disabilities until then. Bundy then, like the vampire he was, slinked off into the night before the sun came up. So the reason that is kind of more one of his most prevalent murders is because it's one that he kind of committed it more sloppily than he normally was, and also biting Lisa Levy on, like, biting her would actually help him get convicted because he would leave teeth marks and people have dental records.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm saying, like, at this point, like, he's lost all control of his demeanor. He's given completely over to his desires. He's went full, like, Hyde from Jekyll, you know?
Yes.
Like, he's separated from his calm self and just let him true self go.
So then I'm going to read one more thing from this article before I switch back to my other notes. On February 8th, driving a stolen van from FSU, he approached a 14-year-old girl in Jacksonville, but was frightened away while driving back to Tallahassee. He kidnapped and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Diane Leach. I don't know how it's pronounced, who had long, dark hair parted in the middle in Lake City. Her body was found weeks later near the Swanee River Park. Bundy had returned to Tallahassee on February. Okay, then it's like him getting... Okay, so he commits the Florida Chi Omega murders, and then he strikes one more time with the 12-year-old girl, which at first they kind of were like, that doesn't make sense that it's Bundy because she was a lot younger than his normal victimology would be. But I kind of think he was just like, Hail Mary, I'm about to get caught, so I'm just going to do everything I can. And unfortunately, it took a lot of lives, which is not good. And so then on February 15th, 1978, just a couple days after he had murdered Kimberly, he is apprehended for good after pulling over a car with its headlights off at 3:30 a.m. and finding the plates to match those of a stolen vehicle. Pensacola police officer David Lee finds himself in a violent scuffle before subduing the driver, unwilling to give his identity right away. The man eventually reveals himself to be the FBI wanted Bundy. So on June 25th, kind of a time skip to 70.
She's saying it's me.
Breathing.
It's not me.
Oh. It's
breather.
It might be me.
It's
Mouth
probably me.
breather over there. No, it's Dylan.
Oh, where was I?
OCD.
So skip to June 25th, 1979, Bundy's trial for the Florida rampage begins. The trial, reportedly the first to be televised nationally, commences with jury selection at Miami's Dade County Metro Justice
I
Building.
wouldn't want to be on that jury though, because now the main reason I wouldn't want to be on it because like from the start of the trial, like if you're already convinced, and like they had pretty freaking solid evidence, you know,
Yeah.
he's been followed for a while. Like the whole start of the trial, would be like, why are we wasting our time?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to be
like,
here for 3 weeks.
It's
Kill
like
this fool.
we know he did it. So off the bat, Bundy complains to Judge Edward Cowart about the conditions of his prison cell, paving the way for a bizarre month of proceedings during which he bickers with his counsel, takes the reins to cross-examine a police officer, and sits for testimony while referring to himself in the third person. So kind of just weird behavior. Like he was really off the
He's
chain.
crazy.
Yes, which will later come into play again because I think he knew what he was doing, and
Oh, that's what
I'll
I'm
get
saying.
into
His
it in a
psychology
second.
degree
Yeah.
put him in mastery.
He
of the
was
fi-
for sure trying
he's
to
just
act a little
playing
insane.
everybody around him his whole life.
Yeah. So on July 18th, prosecutors focus on Bundy's teeth. Despite defense objections to his testimony being permitted, forensic dentist Richard Swervian, maybe, compares large photographs of Bundy's teeth to those of the bite marks found on one of the FSU students, Lisa Levy, and proclaims them to be a match, which they definitely were because he did it. On July 24th, Bundy is convicted for the deaths of the Florida State University students. After deliberating for less than 7 hours, which seems like a long time for Bundy because it's like obviously he did it.
Well, you gotta think a lot of people sitting on the jury, even if you know they did it, there's a lot of people that don't have they're messed up in the head enough, in my opinion. They would think I'm messed up in the head, but that's how opinions work. But like they're like, that's a human life. And it's like, bro, how many human lives has he taken? His is obviously not worth keeping.
Yeah. So the jury of 7 men and 5 women found Bundy guilty for first-degree murder of Bowman and Levy and the attempted murders of Kiner, Chandler, and Thomas. The following week, he was sentenced to die in Florida's electric chair. On January 7th, 1980, Bundy stands trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach is how I'm going to say it, brought to Orlando for his second murder trial within half a year span. Bundy is undone by the testimony of a firefighter who had seen the suspect lead the 12-year-old to his van and the matching clothing fibers found on both the alleged killer and victim. 1 month later, the jury finds Bundy guilty once again. On February 9th, Bundy gets married before receiving another death sentence. If you're the woman who married Ted Bundy watching this, you suck. Okay, so this is a really weird story, and if you've watched the movie, you probably know. This woman, so fascinated by Bundy, her name is Carol Boone, seeks him out after he has been convicted of these crimes, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this correctly, and then marries her while he is like on trial. And again, I say, you suck. Because I don't care if he is the most handsome man in the world. If you have murdered over like 30 women, die. Literally die.
Man,
29's okay, but 30, where she
Yes.
draws the line.
in Georgia, you can
It's
do
like-
99,
it's like that one
and your ass
TikTok.
ain't going to jail. But if you do 100,
Yeah, that one TikTok audio where it's like, I can forgive racism, but murder is where I draw the line. And then the person's like, you can forgive racism?
yeah,
Um,
it's not that hard.
Okay,
really
Bundy
hard.
gets married before receiving another death sentence. So during the penalty phase of the trial, Bundy proposes to his girlfriend, Carol Boone, in the presence of a notary public, rendering the marriage legal. Shortly after, the jurors recommend the death sentence for this newly married convict.
Did that give her the rights to his story, though?
I don't think so, because they also had a kid together. He was in jail, but somehow they just allowed.
Conjugal visits, they're allowed
That's a thing.
if you're married. But my question
I
is,
don't think that's okay. I
the-
don't think that should be a thing.
listen
I
to
think
me.
if you
all,
kill
all
people,
the
you
money
shouldn't be
that,
allowed to have
that
sex
all
anymore.
his books and stories and stuff is made, if she has his kid, more than likely she's the one that's in control of his estate, which means
But she also
might have done that not because of love.
if I'm believing correctly, she like gets terribly ridiculed, rightfully so, and she like goes into hiding, changes her name, changes her child's name. Like nobody, I'm sure people have been able to track her down, but like she kind of later goes on to like be whatever. So in. I don't like that woman. I don't like that woman. Not a girl's girl. Really weird, icky, yucky behavior, you know? Because also, if you didn't know this, which you probably did, the televisation of Bundy's trial kind of made him popular, especially with women because he was attractive. Which again, if somebody has murdered someone, I don't care.
Who are the anime characters you're always like?
You
Who-
leave
Hey,
Gojo alone.
who's
leave
your
Naughty
favorite
Me alone.
characters in It?
My favorite character in It is Richie Tozier,
Stranger
okay?
Things.
Is
Who's-
Eddie Munson, and he hasn't killed anybody.
Yeah, but who's the guys that you're always like they're hot in the movies, and it's like, oh,
Well,
that's
yes.
the most
Is
honest-
Billy hot?
When you
Yes.
watch Scream,
Do
who
I
are you
figure-
going for?
Matthew Lillard, I love him.
I mean, think about it.
So legit
Okay,
serial
listen,
killer?
listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Those are fake, fictional characters. That's why I can like
So
them.
it's okay to fantasize, but when you get out the squid, it's the wrong thing to do.
Listen. It is okay if they are fake, fictional people. I think people take it way too far sometimes when they're like, oh, you can't forgive him. They're fictional. They're fake. It doesn't matter. That is completely inside a different world.
But
I'm
think about
not
the
looking
women
here
that
being
fell in
like,
love with Ted Bundy for the movie. A lot of people have the inability to realize that a movie on a true story is not.
no, they
you
were
know-
watching his court trial, watching him be.
But because you're
No.
watching it on TV, it disconnects you from it.
And then there were also women who would go to the like courts and be like, "We love you, Bundy," and that's weird. Still, I'm never gonna think that's not weird. So,
Yeah, I agree.
on
It's
August 17th, 1980, Bundy becomes the subject of a popular book. Crime reporter Anne Rule publishes "The Stranger Beside Me," her recollection of working alongside Bundy at a suicide crisis hotline in the early 1970s. And their evolving friendship as he came to be recognized as the deadly serial killer the following year. Elizabeth Kendall, which her name is different here than it was on the earlier one. Like it was like Coffer or something like that, but here it's Kendall. So I don't know which last name is correct. She writes her own close encounters as Bundy's girlfriend of several years in The Phantom Prince. There is a lot of books and movies and
She throws up gang signs a lot. It's
What?
okay. Don't get distracted.
and television series about Bundy. So these books were new kind of at the time, but nothing. Okay. So then on November 17th, 1986, which is a long time after he's been in prison for a while, just hours before his scheduled execution for killing Leach, Bundy is granted a stay of execution to determine his mental capacity during the 1980s trial. 13 months later, the district judge rules that Bundy was fully competent for the trial, calling him a diabolical genius for good measure. That's where I said that him acting strangely during the trial.
Yeah.
I believe he was like, if I can act a little strange, if I can act a little weird, I can convince them I can get off on, what's it called?
Killing?
No. Not get off.
Plead insanity.
Plead insanity. That's what it's called. Okay, not get off, but like get off of the
That's
charges.
Again, with the conversation we had about it doesn't matter if you have a dirty mind, other people may.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
I don't have a dirty mind.
So yeah, obviously his stay of execution is denied, thank God. And then on January 23rd, 1989, the killer attempts to atone for his sins after admitting to numerous murders, including 3 that predate the Northwest Spree of 1974. Bundy sits for an interview with evangelist James
Dobson.
Dobson,
Dobson.
and blames his detrimental behavior on his addictions to alcohol and pornography. That evening, the U.S. Supreme Court rejects the emergency stay of execution for the prisoner by vote of 5-4. Again, I say, if the man has murdered people,
No, if the man has specifically murdered a bunch of women and sexually assaulted a bunch of children,
he should
I've
be put
known
to
men
death.
that have murdered people that they're fine dudes. There's nothing wrong with murder in certain situations.
Yes, but when it's like first degree murder and it's women and children and in such a violent, cruel way, I don't care if you have atoned for your sins and you have, now taken Christ, you still die. Like, you still die. I'm sorry. That's something that needs to
Yes,
happen.
you can have forgiveness for your sins, but you still
Yes.
pay for your actions.
Yes.
There are
and
still consequences.
as a real follower of Christ, I believe if you have now turned over that leaf in your life, you have the understanding. God has given you the peace that you need to die. That is why I don't think that his atoning for his sins was genuine.
Isn't
I
that what
think
Jeffrey Dahmer did?
yes, but
Well, it's the people that you meet that are like, I'm ready to die, but then like something happens and they're like, oh God, they're so stressed out about
Yeah.
cancer. It's like if you're truly ready to die, if you get that prognosis, you should be like,
Yeah.
oops.
And I could be wrong about this. I haven't done that much. I didn't do.
And it's
any
also like
research.
your opinion doesn't like our opinion don't matter on what people have done with Christ. Like that's between them and Christ. You can have conjuncture, but that doesn't mean like, and people get that confused, I think.
But like on Dahmer, I'm pretty sure that he was like, yes, I've atoned and I now believe in Christ, but I still need to die. I
Yes,
could be
I
completely
believe he
wrong about
was.
that, but I'm pretty sure he was, which is why I believe that that is more genuine, an actual, okay, I've atoned for my sins. I've been forgiven because Jesus
well, the whole
forgives
thing
all.
with accepting Christ is taking the accountability of the fact that you need it.
That you
And so,
need
like,
it,
the accountability of your own actions and your own sins is why you accept Christ in the first place. So, like, that's the mentality of, oh, snap, it doesn't matter that I'm forgiven. I still have to pay for what I have done. There's still, like, there's still consequences.
Yeah. So, again, I say, it's a personal belief. Obviously, that is up to him and God, but it doesn't feel genuine to me. It doesn't feel like an actual, because a lot of people cite him as this, like, a person to like be like, okay, you can be really bad, but you can still be forgiven of your sins. But to me, that just feels it doesn't feel like a right thing to compare it to, because I don't believe it was genuine at all. And it feels like a cop-out, because if you're comparing that story, if you listen to it, like the evidence that we have based on it, it feels like a cop-out, and it's telling people, oh, you can be really bad, but here's this cop-out, get out of hell free
And he was
card.
also, like, known to lie constantly.
Yeah,
so, like,
and so it just, it doesn't sit right with me. Therefore, I will not claim him as a follower of Christ, because it doesn't feel genuine to me. Ultimately, that's up to him and God. Anne Rule publishes The Stranger Beside Me, her recollection of working alongside Bundy at a suicide crisis hotline in the early 1970s, and their evolving friendship as he came to be recognized as the deadly serial killer the following year. Elizabeth Kendall, which her name is different here than it was on the earlier one, like it was like Coffer or something like that, but here it's Kendall, so I don't know which last name is correct. She writes her own close encounters as Bundy's girlfriend of several years in The Phantom Prince. There's a lot of books and movies and
she throws up gang signs a lot. It's okay. Don't get distracted.
And television series about Bundy. So these books were new kind of at the time, but nothing. Okay. So then on November 17th, 1986, which is a long time after he's been in prison for a while, just hours before his scheduled execution for killing Leach, Bundy is granted a stay of execution to determine his mental capacity during the 1980s trial. 13 months later, the district judge rules that Bundy was fully competent for the trial, calling him a diabolical genius for good measure. That's where I said that him acting strangely during the trial, I believe he was like, if I can act a little strange, if I can act a little weird, I can convince them I can get off on, what's it called?
Killing?
No. Not get off.
Plead insanity.
Plead insanity. That's what it's called. Okay, not get off, but like get off of the charges.
Again, with the conversation we had about it doesn't matter if you have a dirty mind, other people may.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
I don't have a dirty mind.
So yeah, obviously his stay of execution is denied, thank God. And then on January 23rd, 1989, the killer attempts to atone for his sins after admitting to numerous murders, including 3 that predate the Northwest Spree of 1974. Bundy sits for an interview with evangelist James
Dobson.
Dobson, and blames his detrimental behavior on his addictions to alcohol and pornography. That evening, the U.S. Supreme Court rejects the emergency stay of execution for the prisoner by vote of 5-4. Again, I say, if the man has murdered people...
No, if the man has specifically murdered a bunch of women and sexually assaulted a bunch of children,
He should be
I've
put to
known men
death.
that have murdered people that they're fine dudes. There's nothing wrong with murder in certain situations.
Yes, but when it's like first degree murder and it's women and children and in such a violent, cruel way, I don't care if you have atoned for your sins and you have, now taken Christ, you still die. Like, you still die. I'm sorry. That's something that needs to
Yes,
happen.
you can have
And-
forgiveness for your sins, but you still
Yes.
pay for your actions.
Yes.
There are
and
still consequences.
as a real follower of Christ, I believe if you have now turned over that leaf in your life, you have the understanding. God has given you the peace that you need to die. That is why I don't think that his atoning for his sins was genuine.
Isn't
I
that what
think
Jeffrey Dahmer did?
yes, but
Well, it's the people that you meet that are like, I'm ready to die, but then like something happens and they're like, oh God, they're so stressed out about
Yeah.
cancer. It's like if you're truly ready to die, if you get that prognosis, you should be like,
yeah.
oops.
And I could be wrong about this. I haven't done that much. I didn't do.
And it's
any
also like
research.
your opinion doesn't like our opinion don't matter on what people have done with Christ. Like that's between them and Christ. You can have conjecture, but that doesn't mean like, and people get that confused, I think.
But like on Dahmer, I'm pretty sure that he was like, yes, I've atoned and I now believe in Christ, but I still need to die. I
Yes,
could be
I
completely
believe he
wrong
was.
about that, but I'm pretty sure he was, which is why I believe that is more genuine, an actual, okay, I've atoned for my sins. I've been forgiven because Jesus
well, the whole
forgives
thing
all.
with accepting Christ is taking the accountability of the fact that you need it.
That you
And so,
need
like,
it,
the
yeah.
accountability of your own actions and your own sins is why you accept Christ in the first place. So, like, that's the mentality of, oh, snap, it doesn't matter that I'm forgiven. I still have to pay for what I have done. There's still, like, there's still consequences.
Yeah. So again, I say, it's a personal belief. Obviously, that is up to him and God, but it doesn't feel genuine to me. It doesn't feel like an actual, because a lot of people cite him as this like a person to like be like, okay, you can be really bad, but you can still be forgiven of your sins. But to me, that just feels it doesn't feel like a right thing to compare it to, because I don't believe it was genuine at all. And it feels like a cop-out, because if you're comparing that story, if you listen to it, like the evidence that we have based on it, it feels like a cop-out, and it's telling people, oh, you can be really bad, but here's this cop-out, get
And
out
he
of
was
hell free
also,
card.
like, known to lie constantly.
Yeah,
So, like,
and so it just, it doesn't sit right with me. Therefore, I will not claim him as a follower of Christ, because it doesn't feel genuine to me. Ultimately, that's up to him and God. On January 24th, 1989, Bundy is put to death by electrocution at Florida State Prison. Bundy is strapped to an electric chair named Old Sparky around 7 a.m. after telling witnesses to give my love to my family and friends. The notorious killer is declared dead by electrocution at 7:16, drawing cheers from the estimated 200 people gathered outside. Which, if you were there, snaps to you because honestly, yeah, you should cheer.
Snap. Oh yeah, you teach
know,
preschool.
you know.
You gotta teach kids to be quiet. Okay, sorry, never mind.
No. If you get the snaps, you get the snaps. Okay. Again, just
Old fart over here in the corner don't get the snap.
that's
Neither
absolutely
do I.
like great. Like you should cheer. I'm not for cheering when people die. If Ted Bundy dies, you should cheer. Woo! Yeah, everybody
you
should
went
be
full
like
on French, didn't you? You're like, yeah, chop his head off.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, get some
So
bread.
at the end of his life, Bundy admits to 30 murders, though people really think he killed anywhere from 70
cook the
to
bread.
100 women and children.
Okay, this might sound weird.
People.
I wonder how that flesh smells.
It smells like pork. We smell like bacon. I've had burns bad enough. I know I smell good.
Okay. Did you hear how many people think he murdered?
100 something.
Yes. But I'm going to say this as a theory. A lot of people think that he really didn't commit that many murders. Some people think he did. A
At
lot
this
of people
point,
think
the notoriety went to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I did that one. I did that one. I did that one."
yes, but he admitted to 30. A lot of people believe that he kind of like would sprinkle in and be like, well, I could tell you about more if I got a stay of execution, you know? And so people are like, yeah.
So unlike that one serial killer we talked about in the last episode, where the dude was like, screw it, I'm called. I killed this one. I killed that one. I killed that one. I killed
Yeah,
that
so
one. I
like
killed that one.
it's definitely possible that he could have killed more. I do believe that he definitely killed more than 30 people. But a lot of people think that him saying that was literally just him trying to get another stay of execution, which is another reason why I believe that the whole trying to get a stay of execution for now atoning for his sins is also kind of baloney, if you will. So that's kind of where my notes end. Do y'all have any questions, comments, concerns? You should be very concerned because dude was terrible.
Yeah, because a serial killer could be next to you and you wouldn't know.
Well, you've heard that like there have been like psychologists who've said like you've run into like at least one murderer or serial killer in your life.
Yeah, but the problem is it's really
What's up,
easy to
guys?
murder somebody.
It's like the
How are
song
y'all?
the song Heathens by 21 Pilots where it was like you never know the psychopath murderer sitting next to you. Yeah, you
and they're
never
not
know.
wrong. Yeah.
You never know.
A lot of the people I've known and like interacted with my life, like I've known people, like some of the just coolest, chillest dudes I've ever known. Like you learn about their past, and you're like I've known some of them that were like mafia enforcers and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, so
Yeah.
you grew up murdering things that were humans. That's cool. You make really
Not
good
cool.
tacos, man.
It is in fact not cool.
But the thing is,
Kind of cool.
like if you grew up in it, but like okay, we played D&D back in the day, right?
Back in the day, like 2 years ago.
There was like you had like good and evil,
Yeah.
and like neutral. Then you had chaotic good and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This fool was born in like chaotic evil.
Yeah.
This is not a nurture. This is 100% nature. This fool was born to murder.
Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that he definitely was, but I also believe a lot of it was nurture because I do believe that his grandfather abused him and possibly abused his mother. And
Yes, but if you look at the statistics of, like from what I look at, like, yes. But if you look at the statistics of the amount of children that are abused
yeah.
versus the amount of them that do what Ted Bundy did.
Yeah. And you have to have like the right precursors, like the pornography, the macabre is how I pronounce it, but that's probably wrong.
Yeah, but see, also,
but like
here's the
being
difference.
illegitimate,
There
all
are
that
people
stuff.
that go watch The Terrifier in theaters and throw up, and then there are people that see it and go, I like this.
That's weird. Those people are
but,
weird.
But think about it. Like
It
the
was a
stuff
good
I
movie.
saw growing up,
Shut up.
like when I seen that type of stuff, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, this is just normal. And it wasn't that I was attracted to it or anything. It's just that
Yeah.
was what I already knew.
Yeah.
This kid, when he saw it, okay, you take a sip of whiskey. You either A, you love it, or you don't.
Yeah, I definitely think he is a case of more nature, but I do believe that he was also nurtured in the right way. Like it's one of those things where you have to be like, well, if he hadn't found his grandfather's pornography collection, if he hadn't found out that he was illegitimate,
I
if-
believe he, like, regardless of his nurture,
Yeah, he
he
would've
would
been
have
an
turned
evil
into
dude.
some type of killer.
yeah, he definitely would have. It's just like the right things, just like
But you said he was 3, right? When he moved away from his grandfather? Did
Yes.
his grandfather continue to be in his life and like an active part?
that was unclear. I couldn't find a designated like answer.
And,
Like, I
but it
don't
also
remember
seems
anything
like
from when I was 3.
he was
Yeah.
also, his entire
So-
family was enablers.
Yeah.
Because if you think, like, they have documents and everybody's saying all this that he's done, that it's like, that's, tearing
Yeah,
your
it's
mice
like-
apart and all
it's
this,
like
and
the-
nobody said, no, Ted,
Yeah.
we can't do this. You
Yeah.
can't pull mice apart. That's not how we act.
don't do
Everybody
that,
was like,
yeah.
I just thought it was weird, and walked on. Hey,
Yeah.
you placed knives all around your mama's bed. You're getting
His
your
aunt.
butt
his
whooped.
his aunt later, whenever she did an interview with some kind of psychologist, if I'm correct, and she was like, I remember telling people about this, being like, I woke up and he was placing knives around my body, and everyone was just like, oh, that's just Ted.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
no
that-
one was like,
that's-
that's wrong.
That's
Which
the
is
problem.
so crazy. Why
Which
are you
it's-
like, that's just Ted? Why are
It's
you boys
okay
will be boys?
to do that with certain
Yeah.
behaviors. Like when Malachi used to
not
fall on his face on the
knives.
concrete, right?
Not knives.
It would be
around
like,
your
okay, that's
sleeping
exactly
body.
that's just Malachi. But like if Malachi would have been coming in there and like spinning the chamber of the gun and pointing it as a knife,
Yeah,
no,
being
that's
like,
not
"I
just
see dead
Malachi. We don't act like this. Yeah.
It's just like, it's such a weird thing. It's like, if certain things had been done differently, a lot of women could be saved. If
That's the problem. It's always the case. If people would just
Yeah,
notice the
it's just
signs,
like-
but nobody, you don't want
the
to.
signs, if people hadn't have let him go in that library by himself, he couldn't have escaped. If people hadn't have let him dig a tunnel in the ceiling and then get so small that he can fit through it, those FSU students and that 12-year-old girl like never would have been murdered. Like, it's
And the sad part though is them people, they have them thoughts.
yeah.
And they probably spend the rest of their lives. And the thing is, you have to look at, everybody makes mistakes. Some are big, some are little, some cost lives, some don't.
Yeah.
But like you even for them people, they got to be able to get to the point where they're like, I know I've done this and it was a mistake, but I have to get to the point where I learn to be vigilant, not do it again, and not waller in self. Because like you can go, let's improve my life, or like for those people that did that type of stuff, you can go, I'm terrible, I'll never make up for it, and like they turn into alcoholics and drug addicts, and like it's
Which, like, I feel if you're going to be an alcoholic and drug addict about anything, maybe do it over someone's life and not just because. But, like, again, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how I would have reacted. But it's just like hindsight. You look at it and you want to think that, like,
you're
people
also
could have
not
been
a
better.
trusting person.
I'm not.
You have
at
been
all.
raised by me and Tasia, who both say people are not
Yeah.
good at heart. Don't follow your heart. That bastard's wicked. And
Yeah.
deceitfully so. But the problem is, like, you've been raised with parents that taught you that, like, people are not naturally good at heart. We have
Yeah.
good tendencies. Some people have good personalities. We fight our terribleness. But most of the time, people aren't good. We're just not.
Yeah. It's.
And there's a lot of people that they don't, and that's the thing with the 7-hour deliberation. Well, that's still a human life. And it's like, it doesn't matter. This human life has proved that he is detrimental to other human life.
I personally think that it was probably that long of a deliberation because there were so many men on the jury.
I guarantee you almost every one of them men was like, smoke that fool.
But he was known to subdue other male police officers and other male, like the guards who were protecting him. So I think he could have like made little excuses that like men, and also probably the women were too. They were probably like, well,
yeah,
you know,
but
he
like
could've-
even as a man sitting on the jury, he's like, you know, as a man, you have sexual urges sometimes. It's like, yeah, I had sexual urges. Even as a teenager, I didn't take my wife and hold her down and like rape her behind the alley or just rape random things and kill people. Like it's
Yeah.
like there is no relating to him because he's a man. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter that we've all had desires. It doesn't mean we can fulfill them.
yeah. I mean, I just.
Not good.
I want to think I want to think that everybody's good, even though I know that they're not. So like I tend to like want to look at it in an optimistic way of everyone should be like, oh, that's weird, you're a weirdo, die. But like I know that everyone else probably doesn't.
Who's your
Laughing.
A
okay?
little bit, yeah.
Like when you every time you meet a family and like because like I have 5 children. This is the second of my 5 children over here rambling on, and like that's just I love it because if you're a parent and you have a child that actually wants to come hang out with you and they're already grown, that means the world to you. But like, who are your favorite children when you meet families and you like they have children?
Who are my favorite children?
Who are the ones that you fall
Like,
in
don't
love with?
specifically name them. But like,
Yeah, but who are the ones that you're like, I love this kid. Why do you love that kid? They're just weird.
No, I love them because, okay, there's this one little girl who at first I didn't really like her. And I didn't really like her because she was like constantly in my face. And as a person who like had just started at the daycare, that made me like, I was nervous about that because it just like, it made me
germs
feel,
are icky.
yeah. But then like as time went on, like still to this day, she has moved on from my classroom. If she sees me in the hallway, Tess, and then she like wants to run up to me and give me a big hug. Like the other day she was walking in the hallway and I was walking with my class and she was like, Tess, I want to see you. And I was like, okay, Molly, please bleep out her name. I was like, okay, babe, I'll come and see her. And then I went and like saw her at the end of my shift. And I went into the room and like gave her a big hug and asked her how her day was and everything. And like all the kids, I love all my kids equally, but it's just those ones that like stick out. And all the kids in that class have started to do that. If they see me, they'll all yell,
Okay,
Tess,
I'm gonna
because of her.
But see, think about this. The ones that you like are the crazy ones. Think about my cousin and his kids that we watched for a year or two.
Yeah.
Who's
love
your
them.
favorite?
I love them all equally.
Yeah, but who's the one that like when she shows up you smile ear to ear because why?
I smile ear to ear when both of the little girls do because I babysat them for so long.
Yeah, but it's the one that's nuts that clings to you the most, and you are like, ah,
She's my
matching
little
her nuttery,
purse.
you know?
She's
yeah.
my little purse. I
Yeah,
love
that
her.
child can like grab hold of you, and you could run a marathon and
Oh,
not
yeah.
even touch her.
Monkey.
Yeah,
She used to just like she would be like, Tess, I want to be a purse, and I would be like, okay,
Well,
babe, and she would just like cling onto my arm like a little monkey.
like getting back to Bundy though, like I just don't understand. Yeah, I guess like I understand the sociopathy, the murders, and all that type of stuff, like the mental issues. The part that I agree with you upon is I can't understand the women that were just I love this man.
That's what I said earlier,
no.
and you were like, well, he charmed them. No, I don't care if he charms you. You're weird. You're weird. for
No,
that.
I agree, but they still got charmed.
Got charmed big time.
Yeah. Right. That's like mega pickup lines. Like, yo, want to get murdered? Yes.
Yeah, just crazy, weird behavior, and it's like, well, what does that say about you as a person? Like, what is going on in your personal life that you look at Ted Bundy, the serial killer, and be like, yo, low key, he's fine. No, he's not.
Think about a lot
No,
of
he's not.
Think about a lot of the women you know though. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the guys that go after?
They like to date sleazy abusers,
But
quite literally.
but think about that, and they keep going back to them.
And it's so annoying because
Abuse usually carries on, and you seek it out.
I know, but here's the thing. I want to be sympathetic. I really, really do. In my heart of hearts, I want to be a girl's girl and be like, okay, I understand that. No, I don't. Because if a man ever hits me, threatens me in any way, you're gone. You're gone.
Unless you
I'm
want it.
calling my father, and I'm calling my little brother, and I'm calling my older sister, and we're pulling up on you because you're weird. You're a freak for that. And I know if you do it to me, the meanest person to ever live, you're going to do it to another woman. And I am not okay with that.
Yeah, but see, the problem is, if you ever get married, your husband's. I don't care if your husband's like combat hardened vet. They're going to be
I'm gonna
calling.
hurt his
They're going to
feelings.
be calling me, going,
I'm
"Bro,
going to hurt his feelings.
Yo, she just told me this." I'm going to be like, "Dude, I warned you."
Yeah, I'm mean. I know I'm mean. And I warn people about that. And I will tell them, I am a mean person. I will be
If only
mean to
Ted
you.
Bundy would have been like, I'm going to murder and kill you.
I would have been like, bet. And he probably would have been able to. I'm a scrawny little, 5'5" girl. However, if I would have made it away,
And a
I
half.
would have been like, 5'5.5". Yes, give me that half. I would have gone to the police and literally not stopped until they arrested that man. And whenever they let him go, I would have been like, okay, the people who let him go, you need to be criminally charged. The people who let him escape from that window, you need to be criminally charged. The people who let him shimmy out of that thing, you need to be criminally charged, because that is gross negligence.
And I kind of agree.
That is gross negligence. You're not doing your job as a person who is literally supposed to protect us. The police literally supposed to protect us. You're not doing your job, and you need to be fired and possibly imprisoned, because that's sick, weird behavior. If you, as a police officer who know all the psychological tactics, let this man manipulate you, you don't need to be.
That's what you don't understand.
You don't need to be a
People
police
assume
officer.
that because you're a police officer, you have all the training.
You
that
should.
You are, but that's not how.
But it was also a different time. You got to think how much psychology has grown since the 70s.
This was. Hey, can you have her shut the door?
Why is the door wide open? There's like mosquito hawks in here now. Curie.
You are 11 minutes over an hour.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this. It is
gotta love
so
it.
hard to do things sometimes.
I know.
But anyway, I'm gonna turn this into 2 episodes.
Okay.
We can like like, subscribe, whatever.
Okay. Like,
But actually, we can do that on the next one.
okay.
But you can stop this one.
You want to peace out or anything?
Yeah, we'll peace out real quick, but then we'll come back.
Deuces.
Deuces. What?
you know,
Don't be
like-
dropping deuces in my studio. We have a bathroom in the house.